Back in the 90s, in a letter that was sent to George R. R. Martin's publisher, the author had wrote that upon completion of his first novel in the Song of Fire and Ice series, Game of Thrones, he would intend to release two additional books, which would cover the entire arc of that series. Now we're at the point where I think it's going to be, I think, 6 books in total, if it ever gets if it ever gets finished. But when asked about that, when asked why the series ended up basically doubling what he wanted, George R. R. Martin had said, yeah, the tale grew in the telling. The story basically that he was trying to tell through these series of novels just expanded the more he went deep with it. The more he invested in these characters, the more subplots that developed, the more depth and breadth of the characters and the possibilities that they could contain, the more he had to write. The tale grew in the telling. And for me, this story that I'm working on right now, it's a short story, but my goodness, this story has not grown in the telling. It has simply evolved in the telling. Uh, Man, I think I've changed what this story is about 4 different times already. I spoke maybe about a month ago when I first started writing this that I had changed some things around. The story was originally about one character, but it was about a different one. And I'm going back again and rewriting this thing again because it is not about the character that I thought at all. It's actually about two characters and their dynamics. I mean, this story, it's yeah. I mean, the whole scope of what I'm trying to do has changed with this just one short story here. It's jumped from one character to another character to the entire town being the subject, and now it's back to being, or I guess not back to being, but now it's about two characters and their relationships and their dynamics. And it's rewriting this multiple times as honestly it's become annoying, and I'm wishing that it had not gone this way. I wish obviously that I had just come up obviously in the first try that I had come up with the correct point of view character. I mean, the point of view character actually doesn't change. He's simply the witness. He's sort of just the observer to this whole thing. But I wish the focus had been on the correct character from the beginning, or these two characters from the beginning. Um, it's become somewhat annoying to have to rewrite it, but there's a joy in that. There's a certain joy in seeing the story evolve. And to be completely honest, if it had gone the way I anticipated originally, I might have grown bored with the story. The story actually might have gotten very, very boring because, admittedly, not a whole lot actually happens. It's the implication in how what happens affects the characters, how something so small affects them that makes the story. And to show that and to show sort of the meaning and significance of these things to these two different characters, that's where a lot of the fun and the joy actually comes in with this process. Um, Sorry to be so vague again. I don't want to go too much into what the story's about yet, but this is the heart of the really the heart of being a writer, and this is where you should be getting your happiness from. If you only get happy or you only get your joy when you get something published or released, yeah, you're getting at best probably a nice smile and a clap, whatever. What, every 6 months maybe if you're lucky. If your thing is like, all right, I want to get a short story maybe done, and maybe get it published, maybe what, 6 months, maybe 3 months if you're being really ambitious. So once every 3 to 6 months you get happy and you're miserable the rest of the time. It's a really bad trade-off. Which is why you have to love the certain parts of the process. I don't think there are many writers that necessarily love the entire process of writing. I think many writers do enjoy having the work done. I can't remember who the author was, but I think they once said that they don't like writing; they like having written. And I think that can still be true. That can still be true of you, and that's still true for me as well. I mean, I definitely enjoy having the product more than the suffering and the agony of writing it. But you have to get joy in that process. There has to be some sort of joy in this process of the suffering, and there has to be some small things along the way that make it worth it. Otherwise, it is the most miserable thing in the world. And I mean, it's already miserable when you enjoy it. Like I consider myself someone who enjoys the writing process. Um, this is already miserable for me. Like there's already points in this process where I've been frustrated and angry. You saw me a couple days ago talking about how I had this writer's block here, right? This where nothing was coming to the page. Yeah, so you still get these moments, and man, if you don't get a kick out of any of this process every day, it's suffering. I can't imagine. I could not imagine going to the keyboard every day like that. You'd have to. There are so many other things in this world that can make you miserable that you can make way more money on than just working on a book. Sad, but yeah, that's kind of the truth. So even though today was a bit of an agonizing day, in terms of just having to go through and redo this, the subject of the story again, going back through the story. Um, it's been fun. It's still fun, and I'm happy to see the way the story's evolved. There's definitely a joy in seeing this thing evolve. And to be truthful, I think these end up being the best stories. I do think the best stories often are the ones that evolve as you write them. That the story that comes out the way you first intended the story to come out, those often feel like they're stories of missed potential. The ones that have gone the best in terms of the way I envisioned them at the start of it, um, those stories always they feel very flat. They feel very like these sort of cardboard cutouts of what a story should be, but not the real actual thing. And man, at least this is fun. At least I'm getting a rush out of this, and I'm hoping that if past experience holds true, this story, because it's taken so many twists and turns with how I've gotten it developed, will turn out to be an excellent story. So I suppose we'll find out. I don't think there's the story. Admittedly, there's not. I'm getting as much mileage with it as I possibly can, but that isn't that ain't saying a lot. So with that, I'm going to be signing off here, though. I will see you all tomorrow. Until then, happy writing.